Alan, we're going to have
Your
you use sign
microphone.
language.
Yeah, your microphone is not working.
Aw.
All right, and
Guys, just a heads up, I'm here. I've got some people in the garage changing out a water heater for me. So I am here, but I may not be like here.
Okay.
I
Appreciate
was
you.
never all there to begin with.
that's kind of where I was about to go with that. So awesome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us again this morning. Today is for all about seller listing appointments and what happens when you get that. And Victoria called me yesterday, so excited that she's going to be talking about the seller listing appointments. Mastering your listing appointment is no pressure, Victoria, but one of the most important things that you'll do in your career. Right? It really, really is. And I don't think there's anyone better to teach this class right now than Victoria. She's been doing this for a little while. She's been teaching this for a while, and she's super excited to be teaching this class today. So without further ado, good morning, Victoria.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Let me just get it up a second. Here we go. Let me get it to the first part. Here we go. Awesome. So I'm Victoria Gordo, productivity coach for anybody that's new to elementals today. And yes, it is seller appointments. So we always start every morning hear about you guys and how you're doing. Something good, any opportunities that you have today. So I'm going to open up the forum to you guys right now.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Yesterday I had, I want to say yesterday was definitely a great day. Ever since I started doing the role playing with Robert, I've been feeling more confident with my calls. So I actually had 3 leads added to my command, which was really good. We had a great conversation. And I was quick on my feet, on my thinking, the back and forth. And one of the callers was like, "You're like the 3rd one that called today." And I said, well, 3 times the charm. You see how we're very interested in helping you, and we're still working. We're diligent. We're motivated. So I didn't, so he started laughing, and then we just had a great conversation, where he wants to move and how fast can we get him there, and please keep me in mind. Can I reach out to him in a couple of weeks just to see how it's going, because he was a for sale by owner and he wanted to try to do it on his own. I'm like, well, do you understand, that you just got listed. You just listed is 2-3 days ago, and we want it while it's hot. We don't want you to have to drop your price. Things are happening, and plus we have new ways of marketing now that we have to do things virtual. We want to make sure your family's safe. And he's like, yeah, you know what, why don't you do that? Call me in a couple of weeks and let's see if nobody has didn't bite or whatever, then let's see what we can do. So I'm going to follow up with him and with this other caller, but it was good. It was like quick back and forth. I know I'm stuttering right now, but it flowed better yesterday.
Because you're excited. I think that's wonderful. It's great when you get into that conversation, you have interest. Yes. I think it's amazing when they stay on the phone. Yes. You almost don't know what to do sometimes because you're like, wow, they're staying on the phone. They're talking to me.
Correct.
That's incredible.
What's awesome about that is with you making these calls is the calls don't get easier. Okay, the calls are going to be the same all the time. Calls don't get easier. You just get better. All right, you get better and better and better. The more and more calls you make, you just get better. All right. So I love that you're making those calls. Keep doing it, and you're just going to keep getting better and better.
Thank you.
So love it.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
I want to share something.
Yay.
My first Zoom listing.
Nice.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
I did a presentation like maybe 3 weeks ago. He finally emailed me the paperwork over the weekend. I gave it to one of the agents to handle it for me in New York because I'm here.
Mhm.
He put it up on the market, I think Friday, and we have an accepted offer yesterday for 10,000 less than the asking price. And
Nice.
the seller said he wants only 499. He wants to list it for 499. I listed it for 520. We sold it for 510.
Nice. So
So
you
we
got
got
more
him
than
more
you
money.
wanted.
We got him more money than he expected. So he's super, super happy.
That's awesome.
And he gave me 3 videos of his own house. He gave me 37 pictures. I didn't have to do anything except paperwork and enter it. I enter it. That's it.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome. So I had a thought, and nice job, Eddie. I had a thought about what John just said. The calls aren't going to get any easier. You just need to get better. So prophetic. Honestly, you don't want these calls to get easier. The last thing you want is for them to be too easy, because anybody can do this. You want to get better
Mhm.
so that you're the person that gets to do this. Right? So the harder the call, and sometimes you think about it, the more difficult the prospect is, the more you should stay with that person, because most people will give up. Right?
To John's point, and I hope I'm not interrupting you, John.
No.
I mean, Mike, is that what he said is so true, because your skills get sharpened. I used to say that about sales contracts. I used to get more excited when something would go, I don't want to say wrong in a contract, but and when people would challenge or cross things out, when the contract would get tough, or when something would happen, it excited me, because I had to learn more about the sales contract. I had to learn more about my skills to be better. And if everything was so easy, you just stay the same. It's like a plateau. You're not working, you're not doing, you're not growing.
Yeah. Yeah, your
Said, Mike.
confidence level, your confidence level grows. Your skill grows. Your those, I talk about the Batman's utility belt. You have more things in that utility belt that you're able to pull out at any time. So keep doing it, though. You got to keep doing it. That's the only secret to getting better at lead generating and getting better at overcoming objections, is just keep doing it.
And speaking of which, I do have this one lady that she already knows me by. She's like, not yet, no, Brizelda. Like, she's not answering my call now. It's on text, but I'm like, I'm gonna wear her down, So when you said that when people give you a hard time, those are the ones that you wanna stay on, I'm like, okay, it's on.
There you go.
But she doesn't turn me away. She's one of those people that wants to try to sell her house on her own, and wants me to bring a buyer, and then she'll give me the 3%, and I'm letting her know, like, listen, do you know, by one of the scripts, do you know about was it market passive marketing or and versus aggressive marketing? Well, if you want to know more, let's sit down and talk about it, because I have some things for you, Not now, Brizelda.
Brizelda, Tony DeCello says, why accept no when yes is a possibility?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that's, your attitude is spot on.
Thank you. And I feel like that she's gonna give in to me. That's my. I'm like, she's gonna give in to me. I'm not giving up.
Beat her into submission, right?
Give me your listing.
Absolutely. So does anybody else have anything before we move on? I don't have everybody.
Video.
No? Okay, great. So Today is elemental session 4, seller appointments. And wait, let me just get on to the slide. So what we're going to focus on today is grow your business, which is make seller listing presentations and get listings. We already covered the basics in the Spark session, working with sellers. This session we will be building on the knowledge you gained from that session. So today we're going to go what sellers want before the appointment, the listing presentation, and the listing appointment. In this slide, wait, let me just go back a second. So what sellers want, we're going to be looking at what they say, what they want, and how it affects the conversations with them. Before the appointment, the best listing appointments are continuous of an ongoing conversation. We'll talk about how to prepare yourself and your future seller to get the most out of what a listing appointment is. And the listing presentation, we will cover what a good listing presentation should achieve and how. And then the listing appointment, we'll talk about what you should do in your listing appointment to establish yourself as the local market expert and gather the information you need to market and sell their home. Okay. I'm having difficulties with my mouse. So in this slide, how sellers found their agent. If you notice in the first part of it, it says referred, 39% referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative. And 27% used an agent previously. So what that's saying is over 50% that secured a listing agent already had established a relationship with them. They already had it in place. Wow, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. So then you have the other part of it, which is like 5% personal contact by agent. You had 4% internet website. You had 3% visited open house, met agent. And then you have 20%, 22%, which is made up of other methods like for sale by owner or open house signs. Those other things were almost like cold calling, right? So what do you think about that? How important it is to have a relationship already in place?
Very important. A lot of the most of the leads that I have are based on relationship from friends up north that they're looking to buy down here, and reference really.
Right. So it's not even just, and it's also the relationships that you already have already. So the people that how many times when you have a listing already or you've closed on something, keeping those relationships. Would it surprise you to know that people have closed on a sale and they never hear from their agent again? So how important does that make your first impression with a seller? Right? So in this slide, we're going to talk about what sellers really want. So what does that first impression look like? So besides being a professional, friendly, and likable, sellers have specific objectives. They want to know how you can help them achieve their goal of selling their home. 21%, their goal is help seller market their home. They want to know how you're going to market it. 20%, their goal is help sell the home in a specific time frame. Then you have 19% that say help sell my, help price my home competitively. Would you agree that usually a seller has a price in mind?
Yep.
Where do you think they're getting those prices from?
Internet.
Houses listed around them, houses sold around them.
Absolutely. Do you think they're the current market?
Not all the time.
Why? Why would you say that?
Sometimes they are given wrong information and they start believing it. They have no way to verify it.
Anybody else?
Alan put in here, put in the chat box. He put in that people are going off of Zillow, all right, and some of those other websites, and they see these, and even just out walking around the neighborhood, and they talk to one of the neighbors, and they said, "Oh yeah, I think I heard that the house up the road sold for $425," and it's unverified. It's all hearsay. It's not accurate. They're getting incorrect information. People think that their homes are worth more than they actually are. Everyone says, wow, that home sold for $425 and my home is better. Meanwhile, they haven't been on the inside. They don't know. They just think because they just mowed their lawn that their home is better. And that's why it's worth more. But people have like a skewed perception of how much their home is worth until we go in there and actually be the professional and tell them.
Right. And there's a thing about, and you'll get into this later in another elemental. However, there's also a story. There's a story to a home. And when it comes to Zillow, and this is just something that when I've been teaching Ignite for a while, you never want to make a seller wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You correct? I mean, you really, that is their story, because that everyone's perspective is their viewpoint, right? They're emotionally involved, some of them, the people who have lived in the home for a long time. They've either, they've been there for like 10, 15 years. They've redone it a couple times. They're emotionally involved. Some are just investors and looking to get the, a value back. There is a story though. And as realtors, we're here to share and tell them a story as well. Telling is not selling. However, sharing the story and showing the market helps them self-discover, and they can then they can understand and be brought up to what the market value is. So that's important too when you're looking at this, because all these things is, how are you going to market my home? How are you going to sell my home in a specific time frame? Help price my home competitively, help fix up my home. Well, for the top three, a lot of that goes to price. Whether they know it or not, if you're going to market my home, well, part of that has to go to price. Regardless of the condition, it's still, your condition is going to be based on price too. So that's going to come up later, and it's important for them, without understanding that information and without sharing information, not telling, they're not going to have that aha of what's really happening. They only see one part of it, Zillow, or what the neighbor said, what the neighbor sold for it, right?
Yep.
So that's important. So in this slide, we're going to talk about the process to listing. And I can't express it more how important in the first arrow, the pre-listing questionnaire. What do you know about the process of converting a lead to a listing? And what tools have you learned about and used?
Ask them a lot of questions: where, when, how, all the W's in. Questions which has not a yes or no answer, open-ended questions.
Excellent. Absolutely. So we talked about it before. We're not snorkeling. The treasure is at the bottom of the ocean. We need to scuba dive. Because when you have a lead that has expressed interest in selling their home, there are a few steps that you have to convert the lead to a listing. Some of the steps are optional, You may not do all the steps. Everybody has a different process to presenting their presentation to a seller. And so the steps are optional based for your personal style, and how to motivate the seller is to let you list their home. But in general, these are the steps that you will follow. So the first one is pre-listing questionnaire. Ask the potential seller the pre-questionnaire questions to determine their expectations, motivation, and how soon they want to sell. The second step is schedule a listing appointment after you understand how motivated the seller is, and set a listing appointment. So important that you could go on tons of appointments, and if they're not truly motivated, is it really worth your time to actually go on that appointment?
No.
Right? Because we're going to talk about it later. There are different types of sellers, just like there's different types of buyers. They're the ones that are like, you're going to their house, you're setting an appointment, and you're going to list that home. Then there are the different ones that are, you're going to be nurturing, having several different conversations, digging deeper to make sure that they're ready for that listing appointment. And then there are other ones you're just going to be nurturing. And we'll get to that in a little bit. And then you can send the pre-listing packet to get them ready for the appointment. And you can deliver that by email, you can deliver it by mail, or you can deliver it in person. The pre-listing packet is to set the seller's expectations of the process, or have a conversation to set expectations. Traditionally, the pre-listing packet is really about you. And now, not you completely, it's about what you are going to do for them. It's the generality to set them up about why it's important to price their home well. It's about to set them up for that process. So it's about you and what you can do for them. And then you're going to create a listing presentation. Creating a listing presentation in a form that's going to be like your vanilla listing presentation, you can then add and subtract to each catered client that you actually present to. So we have two versions that I'm going to show you today that you can choose from, and then you can set it up to, whatever you want to, add your marketing plan to, whatever you need to. And then you can actually just add, when you want to put the pictures of the home that you're going to present to in really easily, okay? So the listing presentation is more detailed about your plans to set this particular listing that you can use during the appointment to get the listing. And the listing presentation is all about them, the seller. And you want to make it about them. The last thing is home walkthrough and listing appointment. At the listing appointment, you'll walk through the house, possibly present the listing presentation, and secure the listing. So everyone has a different idea of the home walkthrough, and we'll discuss that as well. Does anybody have any questions before I move on? Okay, here we go. So before the appointment, oops, hang on, went too fast. So before the listing appointment, you'll do far more listening than talking. You can't meet a seller's needs unless you know them. You can't know them if you don't listen. Really active listening, guys. Sometimes you're talking and you're almost like thinking of the next question. You're not really listening. How many people have done that? I know I have. I like the honesty. Thank you. So important, because you'll go right to even to the next question, and you'll ask that question, and they just told you that I have to be out of here in a month, and you've asked them, the next question, which is inconsistent with the answer they just gave you. So really important to just listen, pause before you actually, answer the, ask another question. Maybe you have to dig deeper to what they just answered you to before you go on to the next question. You can't meet a seller's needs unless you know them. And you can't know them. Oh, I already said that. So show that you are attentive and interested in their needs by giving them plenty of space to tell you their story. Because there is a story. And just like buyers, it takes time to pull it out of them exactly everything that's happening. You know, they have been thinking about selling for quite a while. It just didn't happen. It's been on their mind for a couple of months. They might have been preparing for over a year. So finding out why now is the time, where they need to go and their journey is really important. So in Spark, we talked about you guys talked about the A, the B, and the C sellers, correct?
Yep.
Okay, great. So who can tell me what a C seller is?
Someone who may want to buy or sell greater than 6 months. They might be an investor looking for a deal.
Awesome. And who can tell me what a B seller is?
Wants to sell somewhere between now and 3 months.
Now in 3 months. Fantastic. And an A seller?
Right now, immediately.
Favorite ones.
Find the dotted line.
Yep.
Excellent. So what are the activities? So you're going on an appointment with an A seller.
Everything you showed in the slide before.
Right. So what are you doing with your C sellers? What are
Putting
the
them on a
activities?
33 touch campaign and following up.
Following up? Absolutely.
Nurture
So-
calls. Yeah.
Nurture calls. Excellent. And your B sellers?
Same thing.
You're just following up with them a little more frequently.
Yes, every 2 weeks instead of once a month.
Yeah, definitely following up with them a little bit more and providing them with information that creates urgency. There's the difference between that and the C seller.
Gotcha.
Because you're not going to know, remember that emotion, you know, the emotional proximity. And if you're not in that window, because 3 months is not a long time, guys. And other realtors are calling people. You don't know, they don't tell you everything. And you want to make sure that you're there at that right moment. So it's important, the value, and you know, they don't care what you know unless they know you care. So it's important to definitely be following up with them. Also, when you have we call it a pipeline. It's like a funnel. And in your pipeline, do you want to have only A's? Priscilla said, yeah, I only want A's. Of course. So you guys are running a business, correct?
Yes.
Of course. And as a business, we want to create a momentum. The momentum of consistently having repeated business. To be able to do that in this pipeline, you want to have so many A's, so many B's, so many C's. You definitely want to have that right now business to be able to close each month. And yet it also has to be filled. So labeling them A, B, C, what are you doing in your activities to make your C's B's? What are you doing in your activities to make your B's A's? And what are your activities to close your A's so that they're closed, and then nurturing them for referrals and future business? Running that pipeline is going to be huge. Any comments or feedback on that?
When I first got my license, and some people have heard me say this story before, but I got my first listing relatively quickly into business, And I was making sure, I was nursing the hell out of this deal. I wanted to make sure, and especially once we got under contract, that everything was going to happen and so forth.
Mhm.
And the old commercial director at the Coral Springs office, Jorge, he was instructing actually Ignite class, and he asked me, he's like, "So what other business do you have?" And I was like, "Well, I got a bunch of telephone numbers and things." He's like, "Yeah, but what else do you have in your pipeline?" And I was like, "Well, I have this," you know. And he was like, "John, my advice to you is never sell that house, because if you sell that house, then you're going to go out of business." And I started thinking, oh my gosh, that's so true. And I didn't realize the value of having a full pipeline.
Mhm.
So yeah, you want to have some people that are A's right now, people that are going to be, closing some deals in the next 3 months. People that, that say, hey, I'm not doing anything for another year. That's fine, because in 9 months, guess what? Those C's are going to become B's, and those B's are going to become A's. So yeah, you want a lot of A's, but you also need to have B's and C's as well. They're all going to become A's and B's. All right, but fill the pipeline.
That's where your business has the momentum. That's where it starts to develop the rhythm. Because every time you and please take this the right way. Every time you have a closing, if you don't have anything following, you're literally like out of a job. You're starting all over again. And I can promise you, like actors, while they're working, they're searching for other work, so that when that job ends, they have another job somewhere else, or they're even doing other jobs while they're in that job. They're constantly working. No one wants to be an out of work actor. It's that constantly, and they're constantly practicing their scripts, and they're constantly going to classes. It's no different than that. You guys have to keep that rhythm for you to have that constant income. They're searching for other
Victoria,
work.
another way of looking at it is, if you have a listing which goes into contract, replace that listing.
What you erase, you must replace.
Yep.
So
contract to
excellent.
close, replace it with a contract.
Yep, absolutely. So that's like when a lot of the agents in the offices, they have whiteboards, and they have their listing whiteboard, and then they have a board of their pipeline. You can have it either in, having your goals, having things in front of you is clarity is power. And how are they moving on the board? And if they're not moving, sometimes they have to come off the board. Depending on, it's important, because you don't mistake movement for achievement. And that's okay too. Okay, so moving forward, pre-listing goals. So once you've pre-qualified your seller and scheduled the listing appointment, you will send a pre-listing packet. You will find a pre-listing packet in your Ignite toolkit. You may customize that one or create your own. Once you are comfortable, you can have a conversation with your seller about the topics in the pre-listing packet. Understand the goals of the pre-listing packet and meet them in a way that works best for you. So the pre-listing packet has 3 critical roles. One, you're going to state the value and tell the seller what you will bring. Remember, the sellers have specific goals they want to achieve, and this is the first step to discovering their goals. So telling them how you will help them achieve their goals is really important. Remember, this is about you, the pre-listing packet. So you're telling them how you are going to do it this is your value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really important, how you're going to tell them how this is about you, remember? So you'll be telling them what you're capable of. It's like your resume. So this is where you're going to do it. You're not going to do that at the listing appointment. Number
Victoria,
2.
if you're
Yeah.
new, then you could do your company's value proposition, a firm.
Yeah, you'll also be doing it. It's also about telling them why they want to choose Keller Williams, because it's Keller, depending on if you're a new agent and you don't have that much experience or background, you can talk about what the market centers language of real estate is, what their value is, and how much they are selling in the area. Use their numbers, because we are all in it together. We're a team.
Yep.
How many listings that Keller Williams has in that area? Use their numbers, right? You've got a team here. So that's also the value proposition. Number 2, pre-selling. It builds sellers' confidence and answers questions in advance of the presentation. It will talk about a little bit about marketing and how we are worldwide, and get into certain questions. It will get them prepared of why pricing is important. It will address certain things to get it into their subconscious. So when you do go and show in the listing presentation what's happening in their neighborhood, they will already understand that pricing is really important. This is a very important tool to use to kind of get them ready. It builds sellers' confidence and answers questions in advance. Sellers use an agent because they want advice and expertise. This prepares them that they're about to meet with somebody who has that. Making them feel that they better understand the process is an important part of your value proposition. And number 3, it also saves times, because it may answer some of the objections up front. They may have thought of things that they were like, they don't want to move forward, and by you addressing it in this preparation of general information and questions, they're going to feel like, oh, wow, okay, I understand this now. And they may move on to other things that they have questions about, right? That you'll present with them, which is actually just maybe the price of their home. And so it'll make part of the listing presentation a little shorter, which is important. So what are the biggest questions anyone will ask about selling their home?
It's usually the price and the time frame.
Thank you. I was going to say the time, maybe.
Right?
A lot of the time they're asking, why should I hire you? There's 30,000 other agents in Broward and Palm Beach County. Why you? What are you going to do differently?
Right? Or how long is it going to take? Or do I need to make these repairs?
How much do you charge?
Sometimes thinking of these questions beforehand and coming up with things to respond is really huge. Would you agree?
Agree.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk about objections a little bit later, because what are objections?
Invitation for more questions.
Well, so you kind of answered it though. So what are objections, Brizelda?
They are invitations to more questions, because when you're basically trying to bring them right back, like, okay, you have this objection, but what if I was to ask you with this, and and come back with you my utility belts with this question, like the boomerang, Batman boomerang,
I think it's a request for more information.
Yes.
They're unsure. They're interested. They're just unsure. So
Objection also means they like you, but they want to know more.
Really?
Excellent. An objection means that they are questioning. They're just asking for more information. And it was interesting on the call the other day, John Dietz was saying how if you've ever been in sports or anything and you've had a coach, if they're ignoring you, then you should be concerned. And if they are after you and paying attention to you and questioning you and on your case or whatever, then they're giving you attention, then they're interested in you, they're paying attention.
Yep.
So if they're asking questions, which a question is an objection, then you've got some interest. So it's about handling the objection. That means that they've got something in their mind. That's something has to happen first before I can move forward. And what is that something? Okay. So that we're going to talk about that also in a little bit. So we're going to move forward. So the pre-listing packet. So in the pre-listing packet, wait, I just lost my screen. How does the pre-listing packet help you have a smooth listing appointment? So what are reasons sellers overestimate the value of their homes? And how can you provide them clarity?
They may have just redone the roof or upgraded some part of the home and expect that they're going to recuperate 100% of what they put into it.
Excellent.
Yep. I just spent $22,000 putting impact windows onto my house. If I was to sell my house tomorrow, I cannot really expect to add $22,000 onto the value of the home. Right? It doesn't work like that. I might get $10,000. I might, on a great day, get $15,000 bump in my value. But a lot of sellers think, well, I paid $50,000 for a pool. I should get $50,000 more than what you're telling me. And that's not always the case. And a lot of it comes down to you're gonna have to, one, in a pre-listing packet, show your value. One of the things I always have in my pre-listing packet is explaining how buyers perceive value, what they see, how price is determined, how the how the market value is determined. It's not what you want. It's not what you need to get. It's not how much you want to net. It doesn't matter. The seller doesn't really care. The buyer really doesn't care. The market value is determined by the price that the buyer will pay for it and the seller will accept for it.
Absolutely. It's very subjective because what you have put in, you were emotionally attached, you wanted to put it in, and it may not be the same attachment that a buyer wants. You love those black cabinets and white countertops, and someone could come in and say, I hate black. Mm-hmm. I hate marble floors. I want carpet. It's all subjective to the person that actually is.
And I will add a third thing to John's, and what a bank is willing to lend.
You know, the bank is willing to lend. Yeah.
Absolutely. So your pre-listing packet, later today, you guys will be, working on reviewing it. And when you're reviewing it, these are the questions that I'm asking you now that I want you to just keep in your mind that you're thinking about, because these are the questions that are going to be in the seller's mind in terms of how you prepare your packet. So what parts of the pre-listing packet have you set the seller's expectations about pricing? So it's important that they have an understanding, like where in the packet are you preparing them for that? Mm-hmm. All right, what market is their home in? Where are they, where does their mindset need to be? Are we pricing ahead of the market? Are we, is it, if you're not gonna prepare a listing packet if right now it's a seller's market with buyer market statistics in there, or not statistics, but the mindset of the buyer's market. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there's certain information that you want to be able to put in there that is applicable to prepare them, because it's in the pre-listing packet, it's general information. So you want to make sure that it's about pricing it right.
So Victoria, if I might just jump in and talk about the pre-listing packet for a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. by show of hands, who's used a pre-listing packet in the past? You know, talking to the experienced agents. All right. Yeah. So I mean, I have and I haven't. Okay. I've used it before and I haven't used it other times. But you know, pre-listing packet, and Victoria said it best. You know, I love how she said it talks about you. And this is what I even tell people, you know, when I'm calling up, but when I'm setting the appointment, I'm going to send you some information about what you can expect working with me. It's going to tell you all about me so that when we meet face to face, we can focus our meeting on you and your needs and your wants. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it allows you to pre-sell yourself. Okay. Like I said, it's going to have a lot of the same information that's going to be in your actual listing presentation, right? But it's going to that's your chance to shine yourself. That's your first meeting with them. Basically, it's not their first information about you.
Right.
It could be something very simple. It could be just a small PowerPoint, like a PDF presentation about the services that you provide. Okay. It could be something big, giant, and grandiose and hand delivered to the door. Okay. But whatever it is, it's going to, one, pre-sell you. Two, you're going to know what kind of person you're walking into, what kind of appointment you're walking into, depending if they read everything that you have in there or not. And it's also going to keep you top of mind. Okay. So Jackie Ellis. Jackie Ellis is she's a mega agent over in Boynton Beach area. She's an OP of a couple market centers over there. Team leader. She does it all. Her pre-listing packet, and I don't know, Victoria, have you ever seen her pre-listing packet?
Oh yeah, it's not like anybody else's pre-listing packet, and she has it's like a conveyor belt set up, like, you know, where it's all like ready to go, all of her packets.
So she went out and bought these boxes. Mm-hmm. Big boxes that has fake flowers. She has promotional material of herself in there. She finds out what their favorite candy bar is, puts their favorite
popcorn. I know.
Popcorn. There's this, there's that. She has three folders in there. One is all about me. The other one is all about your home. And then the third one is, she calls it her homework folder, which is the buyer's consultation. I'm sorry, the property seller's disclosure, the what you love about this home and things. And then she has it hand delivered by her courier, which is her husband. Okay. But she has this stuff hand delivered to them the day before the presentation.
Right.
Now, one of my first expired listings was in Broken Sound in Boca Raton. And I'm sitting there in the listing presentation. I'm sitting here. The seller was sitting there, and right behind her was Jackie Ellis's pre-listing packet. And I was just staring at that the entire time. And it was very, very intimidating for me watching, oh my God, I'm going up against a mega agent here and so forth. And I got the listing. Okay. It didn't matter all the frills and the fluff and everything like that. I was able to get the listing. All right. Because I showed value. And I think I just got to her before Jackie Ellis did as well. But and that's fine. So one of the other things I said that I like using the listing presentation because it helps me realize who I'm speaking to when I get there. When I do walk into the house, one of the first questions I ask is, hey, did you get a chance to take a look at the listing presentation I sent, or the folder I sent you yesterday? If they say, honestly, I saw it come in, I didn't really get a chance to take a look at it, I'm really, really busy. So I know I'm going to have to speak a little bit more about myself and my marketing. They didn't read up on me. Okay. If they tell me, I think it was absolutely amazing. I love the pictures that you have. I love that little section that you had about you and your family. Right now, I know that I'm talking with someone who is, I'm going to have to, they have that little feel good, things. We're going to have to talk on some of those things. If they tell me, yeah, I did read it, and you have a misspelling on page 9, okay, now I know that I'm dealing with someone who is very, very detail oriented, and I'm going to have to go a little bit more in detail on that. Okay, so I've always felt that helps out as well. All right, some things you don't want to put in your pre-listing packet. You don't want to put your full marketing plan.
No.
Right? Don't want to put your full marketing plan because you don't want to give away your value. before you get there. All right. You don't want to give away, I have an 89-point marketing plan. That's one of my things. I have an 89-point marketing plan. In my pre-listing packet, I say I have an 89-point marketing plan with things like number 32 is an aggressive print marketing, and number 64 is, I just gonna have a little bit of teaser, but that's my marketing plan. That's my value. You don't want to put anything about the pricing, specific pricing of that home, because you don't want to answer all their questions before you get there. All right. But I absolutely love doing pre-listing presentation, pre-listing packet, even if it's just an email, or you can just have, I've had my son drop them off to houses before, and just, they don't know it's my son. It's just, here you go, just deliver this for me, please. All right. But like I said, if you have an effective pre-listing packet and couple that with a solid listing presentation, that's the perfect 1-2 punch to get that listing signed, no doubt.
And I think all of what you said was great. I think it's important to be putting in, it's like you said, it's your resume. You can also put in what clients say about us.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important time. If you have people who have given you statements, have a page about that. You definitely want to, what you don't want to include is, any too much puffery that it takes away from the meat of what you really just want to get a point across, is that you are the expert, you are the person that they want to choose. And thank you so much, John. That was really awesome. One thing you're going to realize, part of your pre-listing package is also, and in your pre-qualifying, is determining who you're presenting to. Because personalities are really important. Everybody has a different style that you want to present to. I definitely would present differently to, let's say, to John or then to Eddie, depending on their personality, because some people like to listen in really like in bullet points. They really have a short attention span. Or somebody might like that puffery, like the pre-packet where it's a box with all the popcorn and the candy and the 3 envelopes. And they were like, no, they like John's presentation, the way that they have, maybe he put in graphs, or maybe he was more analytical, or maybe he did something that connected with them rapport-wise. That's what it is, guys. It's about how they connect and personalities. So sometimes not everything is going to impress, although it's impressive what she does. And it doesn't mean that, wow, I don't do it like that. Well, I'm not going to get the listing because I didn't send them that huge basket. It's not the case.
I've never sent a huge basket at all. Mine is usually, if anything, it's just in one of the KW folders, and I just have some things in there. If I'm sending a digital one, it's everything that I have in that folder in a nice one single PDF document that I'm going to send you some information. Just take a look at that. That's going to help answer any questions before I get there. All right.
Yeah.
I'll send that over to them. It doesn't have to be something big and grandiose. Hers it's beautiful. I'm not going to lie. It's a nice gift basket. Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a little over the top. It's just a little bit over the top. And to some people that really works. And that's also her personality. That's what she does. And that's fine. I'm not taking anything away from that. It's just find what works best for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the, I already clicked on it. Hang on. Let me just.
Can I ask how many pages is your pre-listing package? And I ask because I think sometimes if it's too long, it might be a deterrent. And yes, it might depend on the person's disc profile or personality, but I was just curious, how long is your pre-listing packet?
My pre-listing packet, I want to say it has about 8 to 10 pages. It's a lot of the information that's in the listing presentation. Right? And it's not meant to be a cover to cover, front to back read. right? It's almost like I'm just sending them like a teaser pamphlet or a teaser packet about me, you know? And even the about me only has a little bit about me, and the bulk is talking about some of the services that I provide. And you got to think about it when, you know, price only matters in the absence of value. And if I'm going there asking for a full 6% commission, right? One of the questions they're going to say is, you know, why is that so much? Why do you charge so much and 6%? And the reality is I charge 6% because I do this, that, and the other. Right. And I do these things for my clients. And this isn't just puffery me talking how awesome I am. I have client testimonials. I have proof in my numbers. Numbers aren't good. Numbers aren't bad. They just are. They're evidence of your results. They're your proof. And I'm getting my clients 98.2% of my asking price.
Yep. List the sale price, days on the market.
Yeah, I'm selling homes 27 days on average. Right? That's your proof, right? So if you can sum that up in 2 or 3 pages, fine. If you can do it in 8 to 10 pages, that's fine. Do what works for you, all right? But remember, it's make it fit your personality and everything like that. And it's not about you. It's about how they're going to receive it and how they're going to perceive you.
And remember, the pre-listing packet, they have to be able to get through it before you come to the appointment. Mm-hmm. So you don't want them to be reading this whole heavy packet because you could be seeing them that afternoon. You called them, you made an appointment, and you're coming this afternoon. It needs to be something that they can, you know, take the information in, be able to read through it. Sometimes in my pre-listing packet, I had like questions at the end that normally they never got to. And that way I was able to sit them down so then I could do the walkthrough, which I will talk to you about later, so that I would prompt them for me to be able to interact with them a little bit more and get a little more out of them for information. And so you don't really want it that long. So that was great. So to move forward, we're going to go into the listing presentation. And the listing presentation the pre-listing packet sets the stage for you to present the listing presentation, which contains specific information about the potential seller's home. The listing presentation contains your plan to market their house. Now you're getting into the comps to help them understand your pricing strategy and all the other information you need to show the seller that you can help them achieve their goals. I just want to pause there for a second in what that says. Really important when even though it says your pricing strategy, please make sure that it's a pricing strategy that you are working with them by showing them the market, that you are not telling them what to sell or what price to sell it at. Once you attach yourself that this is what you should list your home for, then it's all about you and not about them. They need to be attached to it because that's when you will be able to have a conversation about them understanding the market and understanding that there may be price reductions. You're not in control of the market, Mr. Seller, and neither am I, right? The market is a willing buyer and a willing seller. And so it's really important that when you're sharing the strategy that you're showing the market and not telling them what to price it at. Okay? I just want to put that caveat in before we move forward. So the pre-listing packet contains information about selling a house generally so that they're ready to understand and accept your home accept the plan for their home. So the purpose of the listing presentation is to get the seller to list with you. You achieve that goal by doing 3 things. Create a great impression, to build the seller's confidence in you as their real estate agent of choice. Share your price recommendation using the comps that you are going to show them what's in the market, how the market is now, what's happening. The initial list price for their property and your reasoning behind it. Explain how you believe that price is designed to get their home sold in the shortest amount of time and for the most money possible. Set expectations for how you will market your home and work with sellers. Work with the sellers. So just like the pre-listing packet, you don't have to figure this out for yourself. There are 2 beautiful design templates that you can use in Command. And you've already looked at the listing presentation. Well, hopefully you looked at the listing presentation before, but now we're going to take some time and I'm going to actually show you in Command where to go to find the 2 listing presentations that we talked about. And I'm also going to show you how to edit them because they're really vanilla when I say that, if you understand the term vanilla. They've got everything from soup to nuts. And sometimes when you're going on a listing presentation, you may not want all of that in there. You may feel that, okay, they're really, they're educated sellers, they've sold before, I don't want to present all this information, I only want to present this, this, and this, and therefore you want to take out certain parts of it and just focus on that. So to be able to manipulate and edit this information on these presentations and maybe have like, this is the 15-minute listing presentation and this is the hour-long presentation, you can create that on Command. So right now I'm going to go on and share my, where is my, I've got to go on to, forgive me one second. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys all see my desktop?
Yep.
Okay, great. So
Yes.
go on Command. So here's your Command. Do you all know how to get to Command, first of all, just to make sure?
Yes.
Can I get a yes?
Yes.
Okay, just so you know, it's agent.kw.com. Okay, you'll log into your Command, and if you notice right here on the left side are all the different icons of where you can go, contacts, tasks, and we're going to go down to designs. Can everyone see where I'm going? Perfect. Yeah. We'll click on designs. And on designs, to the right over here of my screen, you'll see a turquoise circle with a plus sign. And you're going to click on it. And now a new screen has popped up and you'll see 5 boxes. So we're going to click on the box right here that says print. This will take you to all the documents that you can use for printing purposes, like other presentations, like listings, buyers. And you'll see as this next screen pops up, on your left side, it gives you all the different templates that are available to you. So we're going to go to the listings templates. And it has for sale, just listed, price update. We're going to go to the 2 presentations that are available to you right now. And here they are. You have the generic version, this one in black. And then you have the, what I call the pretty version. I like pretty. So just for purposes of being able to demonstrate the different the capabilities of being able to edit, I'm going to go to the generic version, and you just click on use. Just give it a moment, guys. So when you're in this, now you're on the presentation. On your left, it gives you the whole presentation that you can scroll down and be able to get to any part of the presentation at any time, so you don't have to work page by page. And that allows you to like go and edit each page. When you actually click on a part of the document, it will then pop into your actual working space where you can actually do your editorial, okay? When you're in that space, you can then actually, with your arrow here, it'll go into like a cross sign and you can actually click on it. Now, I don't know about you, but I have really bad eyes. So this is very, very tiny and I couldn't possibly edit in this space. So if you go to your bottom right part of your screen, you'll see it says 49%. If you click on the upward arrow, you can click it to any percentage you want so that you can see clear, right? And then you can just cursor up and click on a box. You have to double click to actually get into the box to edit, okay? That way you can actually, if you're like, I don't like the way it's wording, the changes and everything, you can then change the words. So that will help you, and then you can bring it back to 50% and you can see the document at whole. There are other parts of the document where you might want to, your comparable properties, and you will be able to add photos. And then it will ask you to go to your images or your library, and you'll be able to bring in images. When you switch out of this, you'll see at the upper left corner, you just want to get back to your presentation, just go back to templates. Okay? Now, you might be thinking, well, what if I want to add a page, or I want to move things around because I want a different order? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that too. So here you're on this page, and it's page 4. You want to move it. So down here at the bottom of your active editorial screen, there is the bottom bar where we actually made the percentage higher. At the left side, it says pages with an up arrow. You'll click that, and now you have a gray bar that just opened up, and now you have the pages there for you to actually manipulate, adding pages, deleting pages, and moving them the order. And the way you do that is to add a page, you have a light gray square with a plus sign, and you just click it and it adds a page. Now, what if you say, wow, I don't want that page anymore? So it's not going to show up on the left side until you actually close out of this box. So then you can always just click on the drop down arrow, and you have 3 options to add another page. The 2 icons with a double page means to duplicate. So if you duplicate, what happens is another page shows up. Or you can delete. So yes, we want to delete because we're not adding any pages, and I'm going to delete this one. Or actually, no, I'm going to show you how to move. So I'll cancel that. So let's say I added the page, however, I want that blank page to be in between page 4 and 3. So all you have to do is with your little hand, the cursor is now a hand, you just click and drag it over. And you can put that blank page wherever you want.
Nice.
Okay? Important that while you're on here, you have up at the top left next to KW, a file icon or menu thing, and it says save. Remember to save. Also, at the upper right, you have also icons, one that says download, share, and done. So you have the opportunity to download this. You can then send your presentation in an email. You can actually download it to your computer. This is how I usually presented my listing presentation. I used to have it on because if I didn't have internet or printing it was, I usually had it bound really nicely in a nice presentation. Sellers didn't really get the presentation unless they signed with me. However, when presenting it, it was easier to have it on my laptop, and I clicked it like a PowerPoint presentation and just talked the presentation. They didn't actually read it. It was a distraction to have them looking down instead of looking at me in my eyes. So this is your demonstration of how to create or how to edit your listing presentation. There's a link that John put in the chat, and that will give you a tutorial of what I just demonstrated in case you need a refresher or I went too fast. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to, does anybody have any questions before I go off this page? Okay.
9 elements.
I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint. Great. So, hang on. So, your needs come first is what you're really presenting to the seller. And why is this page essential? So what is the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality? How can I make that happen for you? This is a page that's in the presentation to your seller. Why is that important to you? If we could add just one more thing to make this process even better, what would it be? Why is that important to you? So when you're putting this in the listing presentation, why is this page in the listing presentation included? Why do you think it's so important that this is in there?
Because it's always about them.
Huge. And do you see a constant question that is asked after every question?
Why is that important to you?
It's also a way of keeping connection with their emotions. You know, like it's you're basically letting them know, look, I'm here to focus on you and what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Yep. Yep.
You know, so I'm trying to connect with you. You know, it's a connection.
Yes, because logic makes them think and emotions make them act. So why is it important to you? What will that do for you and your family if I was to get you to Texas by June 1st? What will that do for you? Because when you get that pleasure of fulfilling that, what will be the pain if we don't price your house right, it doesn't sell, and you don't get to where you need to be by June 1st? What will then happen to your family? It's that pain versus pleasure script that you have to then understanding, knowing the motivation, whether you're working with a seller or a buyer, is understanding everything. Without understanding the motivation, without understanding why things are important to them, you will not get them from point A to point Z. It'll be walking uphill the entire time. So this is also, you're also going to get that visualization for them to get attached to where they're going, whatever they're doing, even if it's attached to an investor who will then get that money to invest in other property. Because then they're less closer to the home that they're attached to. When a seller sells, I often would get them into the scenario of, listen, this is, and I do it in the most, with the greatest amount of love and understanding possible. So if I say this a little rough around the edges, understand, this is no longer your home once it's listed. It's your home, and yet you're asking a buyer to get attached to it, to buy. So we're here to take you to that next, wherever I'm taking them to fulfill their needs, dreams, the next transition. So if I don't know what that is, how can you get them to even accept an offer or accept somebody else wanting their home. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it is a mindset. So you have to, so getting to them emotionally and mindset wise that, wow, I'm doing this. I'm selling my home. This is going to be somebody else's place and they have to get attached here. Then it does come to all the other steps that will follow. Just like the one thing, what's the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything will become easier and necessary. Once you get their mind around that, everything else becomes easier. They understand about the staging, they understand about the pricing and the condition, and they will understand about certain negotiations and price reductions because they realize this is about getting a buyer in here who will get attached and want so that I can move to that where I need to go. If you don't get it here, you can't move forward. So that's really important. So you definitely want to make sure you truly understand their true motivation for selling. And if you've got two people in the party, that's going to be also the communication between the two people. So now you're going to have double the trouble sometimes. And you're going to have different personalities. And I mentioned that before about personalities. And there's a thing called the DISC. And I don't want to get too squirrel on this. I just want you to know that people have different personalities and how they interact. So you want to make sure that you are speaking to each person in the way that they like to communicate. So I don't know if you've ever spoken to two people at the same time and one person is totally engaging with you and the other person is on their phone. You've totally lost them.
Yeah.
Right? They just hear you saying wah 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 wah.
Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah. So understanding who you're talking to, understanding how you communicate, who you are. How do you get the other person engaged? Have you lost them because of their personality style? And are they the decision maker? Is it important what will happen after that presentation? Right? Because this is important. This is huge. You're building rapport with you're not always presenting to one person. So I encourage all of you, as an aside, if you haven't taken a DISC, D-I-S-C, Tony Robbins has a free DISC assessment. Go on and find out what your personality style is. So just to reveal, I'm an SI. So the four different styles is dominance, influence, stabilizing or steady, and cautious or analytical. So
I-N-D.
You're what?
I-N-D.
I-N-D?
Yeah.
What's I-N-D?
I said I.
Oh, I-N-D. You're an ID. Oh,
ID.
wow, you're an ID. There
ID.
you go. Yeah, you can be sometimes just one. You can be a combination of two. We all have the different profiles in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, sometimes you're always dominant in one or two areas. So a dominant person, a D, is results oriented. They're a driver. They're competitive. When you're talking to them, they like everything in bullet points. They don't want the fluff. They would not want that basket with all the stuff in it. You would not leave them a phone message. oh, hey, John, it's so good to get your voicemail. Yes, we're going to meet. Actually, you know what? I think we'll meet on the corner of Hollandale and A1A, and it'll be so good to see you. And no, you will lose them. They'll be like, oh my goodness, this person is just tell me where you want me to go. Right?
True.
So leaving a message for a high D would be, hi, this is Victoria. I'll see you today at 2 on the corner of Hollandale and A1A. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye. Bam. Now, if I did that to a personality who is an S, who is stabilizing, amiable, democratic, and patient, oh my gosh, she'd be like, she mad at me?
True.
So part of your presentation is understanding who are you presenting to. So this is understanding when you say why is it important to you, just know that you're understanding their needs and also their personalities. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up quickly before we moved on. Does anybody have any questions, or John, if you have any?
Yes, Victoria. Quick question. Where do you find that DISC assessment?
Tony Robbins, if you were to Google
Google, okay.
DISC, Tony Robbins DISC assessment, he has a free offering that you can go on there and take it. Just let me just give you a recommendation.
Okay.
Be in a quiet space, no distractions, and just give yourself some time to take it. I would say at least 30 minutes or so.
30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay.
Yeah. But just make sure it's a quiet space so that you can answer and think about the questions. It's really important that you have that time.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
No noise, no distraction.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So, role model. Present the listing. So, in this section, we're going to actually bring up the scripts from your the script toolbook that you guys have on elementals, and we're going to just run through. Some of it is not just scripts; it's also just giving you an idea of how to present the listing presentation. So I'm going to share that. Hang on, wait. Where did I have to go and share this? Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to ask for volunteers to read through this section. So who would like to read best practices in communication, just to number 5?
I will.
Who said I will?
Dina?
Okay, so say your name and then you can begin. Thanks, Dina.
Sure. Dina Toft. Best practices in communication. Number 1, ask lots of questions. Number 2, listen more than you talk. Number 3, allow equal time for both parties if the sellers are a couple. Number 4, affirm their responses with, great, that's wonderful, yes, I agree. Number 5, don't assume they already know something, they understand what you've told them, or they're done expressing their opinion or feelings. Always ask for clarification.
Okay, great. Thank you for putting that in the chat, John. Alan says he doesn't see it.
Yeah, just attached it again. I attached it earlier in the beginning. I attached it again. This is the Elemental script book.
But does Alan not see the shared screen?
So he does see the share screen.
Okay, great. So yeah, affirm their responses. I think it's important to when you want them to know that you're listening, say that, great. And sometimes even repeating what they said repeat and affirm. So what you're saying is, right? Because sometimes they will, you know, have you ever heard that saying? Listen to what I mean, not what I say.
Yep.
They might have said something and they really meant something else. And when you repeat and affirm, they'll be like, no, 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 that's not what I meant.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So repeating and affirming is a way to kind of just like, yeah, that's great. So what I hear you saying is you want to do this, this, and this, or you want to be here and think, well, that's not what it meant. And this is what okay, so great. So let's keep discussing this further. Dig down deep, because then they know that you're listening. Okay, so that's really, really important. Who would like to do the listing presentation? Okay, not everybody at once.
I will. All right. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to get your home sold. Review the listing, the pre-listing packet that you left to the seller asked. All right. So did you get a chance to review the guide to selling your home that I sent to you?
Yes.
Great. And did you complete the questionnaire in the back?
No, I didn't have any time.
Not a problem. Did you have any questions about anything that was presented?
Yes, some.
Okay, awesome. And we'll go ahead and answer those questions now. All right. If you would have said no, then let's review the packet quickly before we move on. And there are some questions at the end for you to answer. All right. So that was what I meant when I said, you know, I like to always go in and ask them, hey, did you get a chance to review it? If they said yes, great. I'll know that I'm working with someone who's already did their homework. And if not, then now I know I need to spend a little bit more time with them.
Fantastic. So then we're going to go on to delivering a 10++ experience.
Want me to read that?
Sure, who said that? Griselda?
Yep.
Cool.
I'd like for you to have a great experience selling your home. And that begins with me being very clear on what your expectations are. So I would like to ask you about that, okay?
Great.
And ask you a question, allow plenty of time for them to answer and write their answers in your packet. Allow equal time for both parties if the sellers are a couple. Thank you for your honesty. Knowing how to deliver a 10++ experience helps me serve you in the best possible way.
Fantastic. So what do you think, what does it mean to be like a 10++ experience? What would that look like?
Delivering more than their expectations.
Going above and beyond.
Yep.
Is there a difference between customer service and customer experience?
Yes, because customer experience, it's basically like the feedback you get from the customers is what they say about you. It could be a good or bad review versus customer service.
So one is theory, one
Oh,
is theory, and one is practical.
one is what?
One is theory, and one is practical.
One is theory, one is practical.
Yeah, and Brazil, to your point, what you said, I just wanted to touch upon that. This is so well said in terms of their experience and customer service and your feedback. And I really appreciate it, because how important is this part?
Very, because if they had a very good experience with you, chances are they can refer you to another person that can be trying to buy or sell their home. So it's always based on their impression on you, how well you made them feel, how comfortable and they feel with you, that they can rely on you.
Most definitely. This is about creating raving fans. And you could say, well, I got them the listing packet on time. We listed the house. I called them every Friday. I did the customer service. However, their experience could be completely different. And if you are not giving them the 10 plus experience, and you're not asking this question and finding out what that is to them, doesn't matter what you think it is. Remember, this is about them. Will you be able to be successful in attaining that raving fan? Each person is going to have a different 10 plus experience. You're still going to have your standards of your business. That's what you're building the relationship with. And there's something that will just plus it for them. That's what you want to know what it is, to make it that more exceptional for them. Awesome. Who would like to read Why Me? It's short. I'll read it. Let me tell you a little bit about the team and company I work with. Keller Williams, Fort Lauderdale, and why you've made a great decision to talk to me about selling your home. Quickly cover the selling points about KW, #1 in the world, training company, best mobile property search app, and accessing hundreds of real estate websites globally. Any questions? So that's you're briefly covering that. Help seers see their listing through the eyes of a buyer. Who would like to tackle this big puppy?
Alan can do it. He just has to type it all out.
Bravo, Alan.
The location and condition of the home are the first things that attract buyers and their agents. You can't change the location, but you can change the condition of your home that it's appealing as possible. Buyers are attracted or distracted immediately by the condition of the home. From the curb appeal to every room in the house to the backyard, it all matters. Buyers rank condition as one of the top 3 things they consider when choosing a home. Most want a move-in ready, model-like home. Buyers are trying to see themselves in any property they visit. They're trying to imagine a wonderful life inside your house. So our goal is to help them by preparing the house so that nothing distracts them from being able to do this. This means a great curb appeal, a clean interior with as few repairs needed as possible. After all, daydreams don't often come with hammers, and as few reminders as possible that someone else is still living there. And that includes not being there during the showings. Once we agree to work together, I'll advise you on how to properly prepare your home with staging to accomplish this. Does this sound good?
Awesome. So everything in here is extremely important.
There's a lot to unpackage in that one script.
Right. And you may not say the whole thing, right, John? However, there's bits and pieces of this that will come up probably maybe throughout the presentation, even when you're in the pricing part of it, right? And how key is that? Remember we talked just a minute ago about mindset, the mindset of the seller to understand. I love it when sellers say, I want $300,000 for my house. The house really is only selling like at 220. Well, great, Mr. Seller. So glad you just bought your own house. You know, it takes a willing buyer and a willing seller. You're not going to do it all by yourself. So to get them in the understanding of seeing it through the eyes of a buyer, especially when they may just turn around and be a buyer themselves, is huge. So this is also a very important part. And the next important part is signing the listing agreement. We're in agreement about the price, and it sounds like all your questions have been addressed. Based on everything we discussed, we have the makings of a win-win relationship. Would you agree? Are we ready to move ahead on this? Is there anything we need to do before we get started? Would you like me to handle the sale of your home? Are you ready to decide to choose me to represent you in the sale of your home? These are just different closing options. If yes, hand the sellers your listing agreement and a nice pen and ask them to sign. Thank you, I'm looking forward to. If no, what is preventing you from moving forward? Do you have additional questions for me? Couple things on this. If you know they're ready to sign, don't say, oh, sorry, I have to present this whole presentation first. Sign the listing.
Yeah.
You still want to get the stuff.
I love that. You know, all the you know, there's been many times you almost talk yourself out of a listing.
You do. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. You still want to get the 10 plus experience. You still want to get certain things. Yeah, but don't, if they want to sign it and then go through some of the steps afterwards. Don't talk, because you could get through something and then talk yourself out of it, just like John said.
Yeah, one of the things I usually tell people, once they sign the listing agreement, tell them what the next steps are and get out of the house.
Yes.
Right? Get out.
Yes.
Be done with that conversation. You talk to them again tomorrow. Let that energy get out of you for a little bit, because now you're in work mode. You know, but after a good listing presentation, don't make it awkward. John Dietz always says the asking for the signature should just be a natural part of the conversation. And if you've already done a really good listing presentation, you've already shown your value, you've already discussed the price that will cause it to sell, you've already agreed on that. The way I do it, I just normally turn around and say, great, you know what, Victoria, I'm very excited to get started. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to get started. Here's the contract. Here's the agreement. This is what I need to put me to work, and let's go ahead and get started. All right. I'm assuming that they're going to give it to me. I'm not even saying, hey, so do you want to hire me? I'm just assuming they're going to give me the business. All right. That's
a great mindset, John, because it's not like, oh, I hope I get this listing. It's not about that. It's like you already have the listing. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of whether I have a choice in this too. Mindset is everything, and walking in with confidence, understanding is that they're interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. Know this, that three things are going to happen today, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. One, you're going to list with me, and that's going to be awesome. Two, you're not going to list with me, and wow, that would be a shame. Three, I may not list with you. What? You're not going to list with me? Yes, that's right. I may not list with you, because there is a possibility that you are going to ask me to do something that would cause your home not to sell, or put myself in a position that would actually do you a disservice in selling your home, because I'm here to sell your home, not list your home. It's important to know that we have a choice in this. We're running a business, and it's not to be argumentative with them. It's not something that I would be argumentative with them. The thing is that I'm saying this to you guys, for you guys to walk in there with confidence, to know that this is your choice too. It's not all one way when you walk in there. When you give them that much power, that's when the leverage starts to change. It's not about that. That's when they start negotiating your commission down. That's when they start thinking that they have all the leverage to everything. So sorry. I'm sorry, I don't go to a doctor's office and all of a sudden start, negotiating his prices and everything. And this doesn't happen like that. They're running a business. They're showing the value there, right? You got to go in there, and you have to definitely know that this is something that we are here to discover and connect in a rapport and a relationship. And always asking their permission, do I have the right to ask your permission to go through these steps with you, right? Always being polite, Nothing is, rude or anything like that. Does that make sense? Did you ever think that you had a choice? I see everyone's on mute.
I always thought I did.
I've turned down a couple listings in the past, and I was actually speaking to Alan about this the day before yesterday. I turned down a listing that was on a good day, on its best day, he wasn't getting any more than 450 or 460 for it. And that was on his best day with a very generous buyer. And the seller would not budge on his price and was saying, I'll let you have it for 490. And I was just like, I want to help it sell. I don't get paid until it sells. Right. And I told him, I said, unfortunately, taking your home, even at 475, is just taking it so I can put a billboard in your front yard. That's all it is. All right. That's not doing anything to get you closer to getting your home sold. I said, I could put a sign up in the front yard and I'll just get a bunch of sign calls. Okay.
Right.
I'm also going to tell all your clients that, I don't get home sold and I don't want to do that. So I'd rather turn down the opportunity than let you down later. Because the only thing that's going to happen if I take your home at 475 or even especially 490 is 6 months down the road when your house expires, you're just pissed off at me.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that was a tough pill to swallow, having to come home and tell my wife that I just turned down a $470,000 listing. Right. However, it wasn't going to sell. It wasn't going to sell at all. So I turned it down. And then 6 months later, when another agent did take it at 480, it did expire again. Right. And I called him again. And as much as I wanted to give him the whole, I told you so. Right? I couldn't. I didn't have it in me, but he remembered me. And he said he's just taken it off the market completely. And it still hasn't sold. That was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And sometimes, and that becomes part of your pipeline too, right? Those expireds that you went on appointments with, they become your C's. You're watching them. They are definitely ones that you're going after because you've already been in their home, you presented to them, their mindset. You have an edge over anybody else who's actually trying for them or calling on them. So they're
John, 2 years ago, he could have got 450, 460. What could he get now?
In his neighborhood, it's probably less than that. It's probably 435, 440 right now.
He lost money because he didn't listen to a right agent.
This guy was funny. He was telling me that his home was $30,000 more than everybody else's home because he improved his closets and opened up his closets bigger and put new doors on them. And I was like, okay, that's a couple $100. That's not going to be $30,000 more.
Exactly.
But yeah, his thing was his closets. He loved his closets.
Yeah, the emotional attachment, the emotional attachment. So I don't switch back and forth from the slides. The next slide that we were going to go on to is handle seller objections. And the reason I'm going to stay on here is because it's in your Elemental script tool book. Where is it? Page 11, here it is, seller objections. So for time's sake, because I know that we're already, we have only a little bit of time left. We can just go through a couple of the seller objections just so you can get an idea of what's in the script toolbook. And this is something that I would definitely recommend that, later today and just putting it in your script and role play practice all the time. I think that was a little tongue tie there. To be practicing your objections, whether it's with buyers, sellers, in sale contracts. This is so huge because for you to have that in your tool belt, it will help prepare you when you are in a presentation for anything that comes up. Because these are the most typical objections that you're going to hear. There's only 20 of them, maybe 10 most common, and then there's about 20 of them that happen the most.
Yep.
and they just get repeated because they're just typical. So we're just going to go over a couple of them. So this one seller objection is, we need an agent with more experience. So Keller Williams, Coral Springs is different. I'm a partner with others in my office, so I have lots of motivated agents and many years of experience working for you. Is there anything another agent said that would do that for some reason? I forgot to wait. Is there anything another agent said that would do that for some reason I forgot to mention? Did I cover everything you expected to hear? Sounds like you believe I can get your home sold. So let's move ahead now. So it goes back to using the experience of the market center, right? John, I think that, you know, we've always talked about when you have a new agent, you can spend more time on selling their home, and that you have the resources of working, you know, with people who have very, you know, a great experience and talking about who their team is.
Yeah, well, I like, especially with new agents, right? Especially when it comes to new agents that don't have numbers or don't have, you know, they're worried about themselves. Just speak on behalf of the team. Speak on behalf of the entire market center.
Yep.
We are selling 130 homes each month. Okay. If you're in my productivity coaching program, okay, use my numbers. You are on my team. Okay. We are selling homes at 98.2% of asking price. We are selling homes in 27 days on average.
Right.
All right. When the lore numbers come out each month, use those numbers. And until you get your own numbers, don't worry about being. You remember one of the things we looked in one of the other classes in Spark was people think that they want more experience, and what they just really want is solid representation. So don't worry about, I got my license last month. Don't worry about that. And
let them know, let them know who your team is, who you're supported by, that you're not just like winging it. And I remember telling when I got my first listing in real estate, you know, many moons ago, I remember saying, well, once you list with me, I won't have my first anymore. I'll have numbers. So sign now.
Yeah.
And I could add to that.
Give me my numbers. Sign here. You know,
I could add to say by saying that being that I'm new and you're going to be my first listing, I could give you 24/7 because I have nothing else to do.
Well, be careful what you say, Eddie. But no, the thing is that it's great. Bring sense of humor.
If it gets me the listing, I'll say it.
I know. I think you want to bring a little sense of humor to it. I think
true.
The more some people may be serious and you want to bring that kind of sense of humor to things to kind of offset maybe how serious they may feel about it. I think it's important to kind of let them know that there are firsts and everything, and sometimes bringing a little lighthearted to it also kind of breaks up the stillness in the air. I call it, well, I don't call it, but we always call it that funkiness. Sometimes it gets funky in the room, and if you kind of like break it up a little bit, but appropriate sense of humor, right?
So where I live in Sunrise Plantation area. And for those who know Lori Reeder Finkelstein, the Lori Reeder team.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's here. I'm in Lori Reeder's territory. So I pass her all of her signs every day. There's open houses sometimes in my neighborhood, which my wife hates seeing that because she's like, that should have been your listing. But then when I go on listing presentations around here, I'm constantly going against Lori Reeder. Now, Lori Reeder has been like number 3 in the MLS for like forever. And she has a machine. She has a team of like, 70 people or something like that. And I'm constantly going against her. And one of the questions I commonly get asked is, why should I hire you over Lori Reeder? All right, I get that question a lot. My answer is, you're going to have my cell phone number, right? You're not going to have Lori Reeder's cell phone number, right? Yep. If Lori Reeder is going to do open houses at your property, then you should hire Lori Reeder. Okay. But she's not going to do it. And she's definitely not going to be doing it for 6%. Okay, you're not going to get her. You're going to get a member of her team. Do you want to hire the neighborhood expert, or do you want to hire someone who's working hard to become the neighborhood expert? All right. And when people start turning around, they're like, wait a second, you mean I'm not going to get Lori Reeder's team? No, not at all. You're going to get one of her minions, one of her people, right? And literally, I mean, I'm not taking anything against Lori Reeder at all. She has an amazing team, right? But you know, when people and then what I
their experience.
yeah, some people like the fact of having that small town feel, that one-on-one,
Right.
versus and what I'm trying to do is maximize the value that I provide. And I hate saying this, but I'm trying to minimize the value of having a big team. All right. You know, when you work in a big team, you're going to speak to 15 of her admins before you get to her. Okay. You're going to have my cell phone number. You're going to be able to text me and call me whenever you want. All right. If I can answer, I'll answer. But, you know,
and some people want that big team where they can call and get somebody, whoever they want. It's everyone's different experience. And that's why you have the opportunity. Everyone's going to build different rapport with different people.
Mm-hmm. But like, you know, do you want to hire the neighborhood expert or someone who's working hard to become the neighborhood expert?
So John brought up a great point. These are the 20 objections, right? However, he found out by going out on presentations an objection that nobody else necessarily has to work on. He has to have that objection down all the time. That's one of his additional objections. And he had to come up with a script to address that, because he knows it's just something that's going to come up. It's just got to pull it out of his toolbox.
Yeah, and another thing is, if you're going on, I mean, and there's a bunch of really good objections here, and you can have an entire class just on seller listing objections, right?
Yeah.
And pricing objections and so forth. But if you're going on a listing presentation and you're getting the same objections over and over and over, and you'll hear the same ones over and over, build it into your listing presentation. Build the response into that listing presentation. So if everyone you go to is talking about how new you are, all right, bring it up before you're going to beat them to the punch and say, hey, look, you know, I got my license a few months ago, and I'm working on a team that has these numbers and so forth, and I have a coach that's holding my hand through every step of the transaction. So you're not just hiring a brand new person, you're actually hiring a team of 70 people. You're actually hiring me and someone who has is being mentored by someone who's been doing this for several years.
So I really like the idea of practicing all the time. And I have it at the office, and we do kind of a game at the office about practicing objections. You can get a beach ball, the one that has all the different colors on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, there's a lot of questions here, but we would take the 12 questions and we would write on the top of the beach ball, like around the top of it, we write the questions on, and then you write on the bottom of the beach ball. And we would just toss it to each other. And the moment you got the ball, you had whatever question popped to you, you had to answer the objection.
Oh, okay.
So it was, and the key was every time we went around the room, the ball got faster and faster and faster. So it was a matter of the agents that were new got to use the scripts. And then the following week they leave their scripts down. And for those, we would bring in some experienced agents who were like the top producers on the third floor, and they would come in and they would start rattling it. So it was kind of interesting to hear how they were objecting. And it's great because it became like a game. And if you have it, just letting you know in the future when we are back, you know, together, there's different games you can do to practice your scripts. Practicing your scripts and objections are huge, because when you're in front of somebody, it's going to happen so fast, it can catch you off guard. And that's the key of role-playing them. So not to segue so fast, although we are winding down, so I want to make sure that we just hit the rest of the lesson. I'm going to go back to the presentation. Definitely take a look at these scripts for objections. and definitely when you're on your calls for accountability or your script and role play, practice them. So I'm just going to move forward to the listing appointment. So the home walkthrough. The home walkthrough, when you're doing the listing appointment, everybody has a different take on whether they actually ask to have, like once they've been greeted and say, thank you so much. It's now 1 o'clock and we had an appointment at 1 o'clock, may I come in? And then they will actually, when you arrive to a potential seller home, it's important to establish yourself, acknowledge that you're, the knowledgeable professional right away. When you greet your potential clients, you will thank them for the opportunity and ask them if you can leave your things. Normally we want to meet them in the kitchen, a place where it's a common area where especially if they have a kitchen that has a table in it, you want to sit down at a table. You want to be in a place where you can all see each other, especially if there's two people, where you can have paperwork where it's able to sign. Being in a couch where it's uncomfortable, where the paperwork is not easy to talk to somebody, show a presentation, they're going to feel too comfortable to be reserved to want to sign anything, right? If they don't have a kitchen that has a table in it, then the most next place would be like a dining room area. You would just want it to be almost like an office setting. We use the kitchen usually because, especially if it has an eating area, because that's the place that they usually sit in the most. It's a very comfortable place for people. So your home walkthrough is going to further inform you what you will write for the listing information, your marketing plan, and your pricing strategy conversation. If at all possible, ask to do the walkthrough alone. It all depends. This is sometimes you want to say that I would like to see this from the viewpoint of a buyer. And to do this, I would just like to kind of, take a walk through. Some sellers are going to be like, it may not strike them right, especially if you're in like a $2 million home. They're not going to let you necessarily walk around that house and tour it with, by yourself. Oftentimes, if you're in a 2-2 condo, it's going to take you 2 seconds to tour that puppy because it's going to be so fast. So they probably might follow you. And so often when instructing that, I'd like to take a tour of your home so I can see it through the eyes of a buyer. And so if you could hold your comments until I'm through, then I'd be glad to hear anything that you would like to inform me that might be important to know about your home afterwards. I just want to get an idea. That's important because I don't know if you've ever noticed when you're looking at a home, there are certain things that have blinders for a seller. I always call it like the grandfather clock. You know a grandfather clock? It chimes when?
On the hour.
On the hour. So to somebody who's had that clock in their house for so many years, when you walk in the first time, who's going to notice it? The seller or the guest?
The guest, because that's the first noise, or, they're not used to hearing it.
They're not used to hearing it.
Yeah.
Right? So when a buyer comes in the house, the first thing they're going to notice are the things that are imperfect. They're looking for the things that are imperfect almost. They will notice, of course, the things that are great. However, they're going to see the yellow stain on the side of the wall that a long time ago, I'll get to later. They're going to notice things that are the imperfections that stand out, that a seller says, yeah, but you got to look at this and you have to look at this and this looks so great because they've been living with it. Things become oblivious and blinding to us because we live in it and see it every single day. That's the grandfather clock. When a buyer comes in, they're going to notice everything. So that's important. So it would be great if you could get the home walkthrough so that you could be able to kind of really take that look, so then you could be objective about the staging, the things that are really going to stand out. And take a moment to look over the home walkthrough survey in your toolkit and see if you have any questions, and if there's anything that possibly you might add or change, because not everything you're going to keep included in that. And closing the deal. So closing the deal, also there is a script about closing the deal. And that's also in your Elemental Elemental script book. It's also, I believe, in your page, I think it's page 11 of your participant book, where you can page 13 of your guide. And closing the deal is an important time where is the final point of the listing appointment, getting the seller to sign with you. And the closing script can be found. I already told you where that is. So when you're closing the deal, I'm just going to find it really quick here. Here it is. After studying the comparables, taking into account the unique characteristics of your home and its setting, and using my knowledge of the averages in your neighborhood, I've prepared my recommendation. Remember that my primary goal is to net you the most money possible, and I believe this pricing plan matched with my marketing plan will draw agents and buyers to your home and position it as highly appealing and highly competitive property. So after looking at everything I presented about condition, price, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with this price recommendation? Is this what you'd like to list your home for? Are you ready to make a decision to work with me? And if yes, great. It sounds like we've got a price and we're ready to put a sign in the yard. Let's do it and get this house sold. Put the pen down and don't say another word. Seriously? If you've got the pen down, and ask them, you can ask them throughout the presentation too, but once you ask them, don't say another word. Let them answer. Let them sign. Okay? So
Can I tell you a quick story on this?
well, we are 4 minutes over, Eddie,
Next
so
time.
I want to make
Next
sure
time.
that I just have some recaps first before we go, and then if we have time,
Continue.
John, I know we're over by 4 minutes, so I just want to get some recaps. Is that okay? I can't hear you. Okay, he said. Anybody with ahas and any kind of feedback?
Well, I'm here learning and I'm loving it. I understand now what it means. What I wanted to know was, where do you find for the pre-listing presentation? Like, is there a place where you can go and see it? Because I know there's the listing and then there's the pre-listing.
So, Victoria, I don't know if there's a pre-listing packet in Command.
Oh,
There isn't, right?
no.
There isn't? Okay.
No. I know there was a pre-listing packet in eEdge.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, if you go from the My KW page, marketing, create marketing materials, then you're going to have, then it's going to take you to the listing presentation and pre-listing presentation. But that's the older information, the older material that's in there. Most of it is still relevant. Okay.
Yeah.
Just know that the stuff that's in eEdge is kind of the outdated.
Yeah, you want to be careful about using some of that information in terms of like any kind of the numbers and stuff. But
Yeah, you don't want to say according to a 2009 survey,
And
Actually,
also, where can I
while
find? Sorry, go ahead.
while I was on this call, I did go into the Spark 2.0.
Uh-huh.
And in the Ignite toolkit, if you click on download the entire toolkit, there is a pre-listing presentation in Word format.
Oh, so there you go.
So
Great
Spark
job.
2.0, Ignite Toolkit. Okay, fantastic. And also for like, as a person that doesn't have numbers just yet, where do I find that information about my marketplace? Like, oh, we've sold this amount of houses this past month, like, you know.
So every month, John, correct me if I'm wrong, you do get the LORE report. It should be, the LORE stands for Language of Real Estate. And do you guys do that every month, John?
We do.
Okay.
And we haven't done it the last couple of weeks, and we're probably due for one any day now, actually.
So you could use the KW Trends report, or you could use the Southeast flow chart report Jay Saramac made to show your company's performance till now.
Right. And so the trends report is something that we would just have to probably sit down and show you, how to get that. And that's on your mykw.kw.com, where your profile picture is. There is a little tab above your picture that says reports. And you can access the Market Center's reports and numbers, where you can actually see it's about 20 pages or so. And in that report gives you the 4 conversations, if not much more, about how many listings the Market Center has sold, and how many buyers agreements we have, contracts you have, and the volume, the sale volume. And it gives you all the information, and it'll do it year over year, which is really huge, because that's the numbers, that's the percentage, the conversion rate, the number you want to be able to show what you can provide for them, the value proposition you're going to provide for them, and your representation. So that's something that I'm sure somebody can show you, your coach or whatever, on the side.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. And let's see, how many people do we have in here? We have 11 people in here. And Victoria, there's 26 people that were watching on Facebook.
Oh, fantastic.
People got to learn about the listing presentation and everything like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Definitely want to make sure that you guys are going to continue on the rest of the day with your activities to practice the scripts, the role play. Take a look and get onto command. I really highly suggest you get on and start working on the presentation, understanding the presentation. Definitely continue with your activities of making your calls and everything. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Thank
Great
you
job, Victoria.
so much, Victoria.
Great class. Great class.
Good stuff, Victoria.
Thank you,
Very good.
Victoria.
Really enjoy it. Great class. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Victoria, I don't know if you just saw my